It is around 1520 and the residents of a small village in the southwest of Mexico called Zitlala are facing a huge problem. The Aztecs and other neighboring tribes would frequently kidnap Zitlala women. One day, the men of Zitlala gathered up to think of a solution, a plan that might sound hilarious at first but actually had proven to work out just perfectly fine. The men dressed up in skirts and veiled their faces, awaiting the next raid. When the rival villagers arrived, they were surprised to find the supposed woman of Zitlala actually being armed up men ready to beat some ass and defend their village and women. These warriors were called Xochimilcas, the tradition says. This genius idea has later bloomed into a popular tradition. Yearly after the carnival parade, the townfolk meet up on some court or field to drink a lot of mezcal and to throw down. This tradition is called Pelea de Xochimilcas, which roughly gets translated into Battle of Xochimilcas. These fistfights are mostly held between the people of Guerrero, El Rancho, and La Esperanza, and are far less popular than the Tigrada, where they dress up like tigers, jaguars, and other sorts of animals and beat each other with whips. These fights, as well as the fistfights, are held during the harvest season, mostly by the Nahua people in the largest cities of the region, like Xilapa, Acatlan, and Zitlala. Through these fights, the locals sacrifice their blood to their god Tlaloc in exchange for rain for their fields and crops. This is why they keep the ancient tradition alive to this day and why the festivities are so important for them. The origin of the parade dates back when the Spanish conquistadors invaded. They drained rivers and lakes and tried to get rid of their heritage. That's why the indigenous people keep the tradition alive to display that they didn't get conquered and to represent.
The environment, motherfuckers.
Every drop of blood that is shed in this tradition is equal to a drop of water on their fields. That's why they take this tradition very seriously, and they genuinely throw hard punches but are still very respectful towards each other. I will elaborate on that soon. The rules of Xochimilcas. Children, women, men, and elderly fight in one-on-one battles against one another respectively. The fight starts when you lock eye contact with somebody or you point each other out. Weight classes don't matter. Kicks are not allowed, as well as grappling. However, the clinch can be utilized until the referees break it up. Usually when it gets overly aggressive or dirty. It rarely gets dirty though. The rules say the fight is finished when somebody gets knocked out or concedes defeat. And most of them just concede defeat out of respect towards each other. Some of them even put a stop to the fight even when they are winning, either because they are injured lightly themselves or got their opponent hurt, so it rarely gets dirty or overly aggressive. Most of them have no martial arts related background, so their fights may look more aggressive than they are. The Mexican people out of these villages and cities are very humble, as well as respectful towards another. And they always stop when somebody has enough or throws their hands up in defense. Medical staff is present if somebody got more than they could handle. When they are finished throwing hands, they go back to dancing, and besides this traditional event, they live peacefully together. Final thoughts and risks. I believe this tradition is actually the reason why the village and city people are able to live peacefully amongst each other. Because they are able to express their feelings and emotions, and most importantly get rid of anger and hate, while respectfully readjusting each other's facial features. Even though they've got a lot of sportsmanship towards each other and most of them lack basic boxing skills, knockouts do still happen. In addition, I've only seen them fight on concrete or dry foliage, which is exponentially increasing the risk of any fight-related injury. Adding to it, many of them are intoxicated from all the mezcal that has been drunk beforehand while celebrating, which is never of an advantage in a fight. In conclusion, I have to say that the aspect of sportsmanship towards one another is huge when it comes to risk and injuries. They always, and I mean always, stop when somebody has enough. Injuries rarely occur because the fighters themselves realize when they've got enough. Apart from some exceptions, but these rather wild fights are still mutual. All in all, it's one of the safest combat traditions or sports I have ever seen. In over 10 hours of carnival fighting footage, I've only seen 2 knockouts, 2 bleeding noses and 1 slightly shut eye. The most incredible thing about all of this is that they are throwing down bare knuckle, and when they are finished with each other, they just go on dancing as if nothing happened. I truly believe they can live more calmly after such an event. Only problem I can think of is the ground they are fighting on. If they laid out some mats or put up a boxing ring in case of a knockout, it would be definitely one of the safest sporting events related to combat out there. Thank you for watching the second episode of Traditional Martial Arts. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps growing the channel a lot. If you got any questions or feedback, you can leave it in the comments. I try to get back to everyone. An additional shout out to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson for the reaction on our first episode. For possible future reactions, please make sure to link our video and channel in the video description. Don't worry about copyright. Most of the music is composed by a good friend of mine and the rest is made sure to be used in fair use terms and conditions. Last but not least, I want to thank everyone who watches these videos, to the ones who participated in the voting for this episode, and especially to the ones who watched the last episode and gave feedback on it. With this being said, I hope you've got a great rest of the day. Much love and respect, and until we hear from each other again, stay positive.